Okay, so the topic for today is from stress to stillness. So stress. Do we know what stress is? Do any of you experience stress every day? Most days? Once in a while? Well, your whole life. And stillness. Oh, do we want to find a place of stillness within where we don't have stress? Yes, yeah, that's what we're striving for, isn't it? That's why we're here. So actually, the question, therefore, we need to ask is, what is our purpose? Yeah, we don't want to be stressed. We want to find a place of stillness and peace within us. So what does the divine principle tell us about our purpose on this earth? It says that God gave us 3 blessings: to be fruitful, to multiply, and have dominion. And so to be fruitful means to become an ideal individual, to mature yourself, your character, to be the best you can. We're God's children, so we should reflect that divine quality, to become beautiful human beings. Do you want to become a beautiful human being? Or maybe you already are a beautiful human being. And we all want to mature as people so that we really reflect the qualities that are coming from God. And secondly, to multiply means to build an ideal family. I mean, in our minds, this I was just talking to Haider about where he comes from in Kurdistan, and he comes from a family of 8 children, because the 9 children, sorry, yes, 9 children. So the tradition in Kurdistan is to have big families. Whereas here, it's the opposite. It's like, some people just live alone the whole life or die alone, or it's like, but the family is very important. Of course, the family, we want ideal families, but it's not easy because we're not ideal people. And then to create an ideal family, but that's the goal. That's our purpose. If we can create ideal families, this is what's in our heart. That's our purpose. And thirdly, to have dominion, to create an ideal world. An ideal world, of course, is built upon ideal families that extend into society, nation, the world, but also to take care of the world with love, to use our creativity to build a comfortable and beautiful environment. So that's our purpose, pretty straightforward. So let's look at the first one. I'm going to concentrate on the first one today. So to be fruitful. That means, we have a mind and a body. And in order to grow, what do we need? Well, we need love, don't we, from our parents? We need to grow in love. And we also need to kind of know the right direction in life, how to be a good person. So in order for the mind and body to be united, we need God. Because God is a source of love, and God is a source of truth and goodness and beauty. So if our minds and bodies, God is dwelling within us, then it means God's love is in our heart. And that love within us brings our minds and bodies together. And based upon that, we can become an ideal individual. That's the model. This is what we all want. And what does Father say about this, about mind and body unity? He says this: human beings were originally created to live with God's true love within their minds and bodies, and to resonate with his love directly. The mind was to resonate with God, centered on true love, and the body was to resonate with the mind. So first, the mind, we feel God's love, God's energy, God's presence, and that guides our body. And the body should not be the center. The mind should not vacillate or change under the body's influence. You need to control your body in order to unite completely with your mind. So that's the model. Yeah. So if we want to find peace within, it's based upon God's love, bringing our mind and body together so we can find harmony. But do you experience mind-body unity every day? Or do I? Well, stress is not a place of unity and harmony, is it? But we all experience stress. So we don't want that. We want to find this unity. So what's going on when it comes to our mind, body being disunited? So what does he say about this? He says, do you think humankind today can bring about an ideal world? Do you think so? The state that we're in, you think it's possible? You don't. You've lost the ideal. You don't believe in the ideal. We've been in this movement for many years. We can't give up on the ideal. God hasn't given up on the ideal. But so actually, if you ask the average person, can we bring about an ideal world? They say, no. Just look at the history is just full of conflict, and people are full of stress, and families are breaking up. So not possible. But what does he say? He says the problem comes down to the conflict and disunity between the body and the mind. It would not be a problem if our outer bodily aspect was united with our inner mind aspect. But instead, our body is the enemy, blocking the unity between mind and body. The mind wants to go straight ahead, while the body's desires pull us in the opposite direction. Now, I've been thinking a lot about this idea that, the body is the rebel. Does that mean my body is sinful? Is there something wrong with me? Does my body, this disunity is like, the body's working against my mind. How can that be? Does the body have a mind of its own? What's going on? So I find this idea that in Christianity, the body is sinful. That's why you have to kind of, do things to your body, suffer physically, fast. Or I think, some people, is it in the Muslim faith, they kind of, I've seen them whipping themselves, they want to kind of to suffer, kill the body almost, not kill it, but make it suffer, and then you can control it. Well, I don't find this so very uplifting. So what's going on? What is actually going on that's causing this disunity, and the body becomes a problem? So this is my insight. So in order to be fruitful, our mind and bodies need to be centered upon God. God's love and truth bring them together. What separates them? There's something called the ego. What is the ego? You could say that's the self. If you're centered upon yourself, so of course your body is hungry, so it wants food, yes? And so you get hunger pangs. And so the mind should control the body. It's not time, should wait, shouldn't overeat, shouldn't oversleep, should control. But the body is like, so what's going on? But actually, it's because there's something called the ego, which is influencing both the body and the mind. And because of that, it means that our heart is blocked. Our heart is blocked from feeling God's love. We don't feel God's love. And so you could say our physical urges become stronger because we want to be satisfied. That's why people have some addictions like smoking or alcohol or drugs, because the body doesn't feel loved because it's cut off from God's. And because the mind, if the mind is not connected to God's love, then it can't give that love to the body. So if you love your body, you will exercise, you will be careful how you eat, you will take care of it, you will love your body. So if the body is loved, it won't rebel. So it's more actually in the mind. The mind is the problem. And I would say it's the egoic mind, the self-centered mind, is not giving the love the body needs. So not the body itself, it's the mind. We say the fallen mind. So the result is a self-centered individual. And if you're self-centered, how can you be really happy? Because you can never be satisfied. You're always wanting more. And also, if you're self-centered, you're cutting off from others because it's all about me. So we can say there are two selves. There's the true self, because we are divine beings. God dwells in us. That's who we really are. Then there's the false self that is centered upon the ego, me, me, me. Our true self, you could say, we are spiritual beings. God's spirit dwells in us. We're created by God. But there's something inside the body and the mind that is disconnected from God. It's not the real self. So our fallen nature is not who we are. Our divine nature is who we are. That's why I've said before, we already are perfect in the sense that God is dwelling in us, but maybe we don't feel God. We feel separate from God because of our ego, because of our thinking. But our true identity is we are created in God's image. So God dwells in us. So actually, that's who we really are. And so the true self, all of these good qualities like patience, to be kind, wise, courageous, accepting, compassionate, this is who we really are. We're such good human beings, beautiful human beings. When God sees us, he sees the goodness. But the false self is all these negative things, to be distrustful, unkind, envious, fearful, hateful, judgmental. We have a mixture, don't we? We're both. So you can identify with the false self, yes. Can you identify with the false self? You're a rotten person, yes. And can you identify with your true self? Oh, wonderful, there's hope. So I'd like to look a bit more into what is this ego? What is it? Well, so there you are, this man is all alone. The ego is our primitive nature designed to keep us safe. We all have an ego. It's not that our ego is bad. It's just that it's a primitive part of us to keep us safe. So, if you lived hundreds of years ago and then you were being attacked by a lion, it's like you're there, you feel afraid and you want to protect yourself, and because also you're an individual, and so you want to keep safe. This primitive side of us is not the part that feels God. It's more like, I've got to preserve myself at all costs. And if I'm hungry and someone else is hungry, I want to survive. Yes, primitive. But it's about survival. This is rooted in fear. Fear. I've said before, there are two basic emotions, love and fear. Fear is not who we really are. Love is who we are. And also, it's about separation. I'm an individual. I need my own identity, but I feel, you're all separate individuals, but my ego mind is saying, I'm in a kind of isolated from others, and I've got to survive in this world. It's about, competition, about being better. I'm better than others, or I feel worse than others. Yeah. And lack, feeling kind of something is missing in me. So I need to grab, I need to take, because there's something missing, because I'm disconnected from God. So the ego is not aware of God, it's aware of separation. And it's the cause of human suffering. So we can say, yes, fallen nature, but it's coming from this egoic mind. It's causing suffering. The ego does not feel satisfied. It's always wanting more and feeling threatened. So the trouble is, if we identify with the ego, that's when we feel stress. Because I feel separate. I don't feel loved. I feel isolated. And so the ego's thoughts are not our thoughts, but it's like a programming. We're programmed to defend ourselves. We are programmed to take care of self. It's a primitive part of us. So lost in these thoughts is like living in a virtual reality. You can walk around your whole day in your mind, creating all kinds of scenarios about lack, about separation, about fear, and it's all going on inside of you, but it's a virtual world. You've created it. It's not who you really are. So what is stress? You could say, in brief, it's a state of worry or mental tension. Yes. We all do this. We feel worried. And our body produces stress hormones that trigger a fight or flight response and activates our immune system. This helps us respond quickly to dangerous situations. So it's actually part of our makeup. It's part of our programming. We need it to survive. But too much stress can leave us in a permanent stage of fight or flight, leaving us overwhelmed or unable to cope. Long term, this can affect our physical and mental health. So it's not just that a lion is attacking us. We have this kind of, if you have stress and you're worrying about things, for example, you know, if I think myself as a teacher, and many times I'm overwhelmed by all the work. And I've got my mind here, my mind there, and I'm never going to finish it. Or before a lesson, I'm worrying, shall I do it this way or that way? Or am I prepared? Or, you know, but when I do the lesson, everything's fine. It's like now, maybe before this sermon, I'm worrying. Actually, it wasn't today, but I wasn't stressed today. So we know, you know, it's interesting because there's a lot of talk today, at least in England, about mental health issues. You could say it's the ego mind. So it's creating a scenario in your mind that doesn't exist. What pitiful creatures we are, that we create this kind of hellish reality that doesn't exist. We're just creating it. So let's look at the brain. How's it working in the brain? So there are, you could say, three main areas in the brain. There's the cerebral cortex. This is the thinking part of our brains. We use for reasoning, judgment, motivation, perception, memory, and learning. It's a pretty highly developed part of us. Then there's the limbic system. This is the reactionary part of our brains to do with emotions, fight or flight, pleasure, reward, pain. So there's a more primitive part of us, like reacting to things. So if somebody does something to me, I want to punch them back. It's a reaction. Don't control myself. Get emotional. And then the cerebellum, the motor control part of our brains for breathing, heartbeat, motor skills. So where does the stress come? Stress causes us to react reflexively rather than consciously and rationally. This is because stress deactivates the cerebral cortex, the thinking part, and activates the limbic system, the reflective part of our brain. So this is the problem. And this means that when we're under stress, we become less intelligent and more reactive. But it still is part of us. We need it to survive. But if you listen to that too much, if you focus too much into your emotions and reacting, when if someone says something to me like, I don't like you, or criticizes me, I want to give back. How dare you? So where does stress comes from? It actually comes from the thoughts in our head. From the thoughts in our head. Believing the negative stories that the voice in our head tells us. We believe these thoughts. These thoughts come from our ego, our egoic mind, which is actually connected to our physical body. Yeah. These negative stories go repeating over and over again, just in your head. You can be walking along the street and you're not realizing where you're going because in your head, you're just thinking, worrying about this, worrying about that. Circumstances don't cause stress, but by the mind's negative interpretation of its circumstances. So people would say, yes, it's a stressful job. It's a stressful world. It's such a busy life. That's why I'm stressed. There's too much to do. Okay. Many times stress is connected to the busy life, too much to do. But the reality is, it's really coming from the mind. It's interpreting what's going on around us. That's why, people who do yoga, meditation, they get into a space where maybe there's chaos going around them, but they can find inner peace. It's all about the mind. So let's give an example. So do you get stressed when you're late? Yeah, I have actually, when I was a teacher, I had a bad habit. I left home too often, too late. I kind of thought, I got lots of time. And then, oh, look at the time, got to go. And so I'm racing on my bicycle to get to school. So if you are going, it's going to be late, you wake up late, you're not. So what's going on inside of you? First of all, you've got negative emotions like, oh, I feel bad, or I feel, I don't feel happy. I feel worried. I feel because I'm late, then I'll everybody will kind of criticize me, because then we have this kind of self-criticism. What's wrong with me? Why am I always late? Why don't I get up on time? Ah, such a bad habit. I'm so stupid. Do you ever talk to yourself like that? Yes. Yeah. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Yeah. And then you imagine the worst. So I'm going to get there late to the meeting, and I feel so embarrassed, and I'll walk in, and everybody will say, "Why are you late?" Or the class before I get to it is in chaos, and because I'm not there, and then another teacher has to take the class until I come, and then says, "Why are you so late?" So all these kind of imagining the worst. And of course, you can forget something. That's many times. Has that happened to you? When you're stressed and you're late, you forget something? Yeah. Actually, my son, Philip, often when he comes and he goes away, he's forgotten something. So we always have to tell him, are you sure you got everything? Yeah. Because sometimes when he leaves, it's a bit like me. He's got to get the bus. So he's a bit stressed, and then he forgets. And of course, there may be accidents on the way. Might trip over, might walk into the wall. Then it's even worse. Yeah, because I'm going to be late. Then I kind of bump into things, or I hurt myself. I'm so stupid. And can I arrive stressed? I don't arrive cool, calm, and collected. Actually, because I'm a bit of an actor, even if I'm stressed when I get that, once I walk in front of the class, hello, everybody. What a wonderful day it is. I'm sweating. One time, because I go by bicycle, this student said, "What's this red mark on your head?" It was the helmet, which I'd just taken off, and quickly. And then one time, the teacher said, "Why is your shirt so wet?" Well, actually, I change my clothes when I get to school and put on a different shirt, but because I was sweating, even when I walk into the classroom, it's already wet. Okay. Can you relate to this? Yeah. See, stress. But it all starts with thought. I'm going to be late. Is it absolutely going? Are you going to be stressed because you're late? I think people in Latin American countries, or I know African people, often are late. Are they stressed? No, they're not stressed. Yeah. So you see. So there's something in the mind of the Africans, it's okay, I'm late, doesn't matter. But for us here, it's like, oh, it's so important. We take things too seriously. Yeah, that's another aspect. If you're too serious, you get stressed. It's absolutely important. It's life or death. If I don't get there on time, the world's going to fall apart. You're creating it. So the ego is like a heavier weight on this, isn't it? Oh, I'm not smart. Any of you think you're not smart? The trouble is, if we identify with our thoughts, this is the problem. They're just thoughts coming and going. But if we say, well, that's me, this is the problem. So, for example, here are some thoughts. I'm old. Of course, I could say, well, I'm almost 70, therefore I'm old. But, I'm old, so what? Let it pass. Rather than say, oh, I'm old. I'm going to die soon, And then I'm lazy. Anybody here lazy? You identify yourself as lazy. But that's an illusion. You're not really lazy. That's not who you really are. But you identify it. I'm a lazy. Yeah. Something wrong with me. I'm tall. Anybody here tall? Yes. I'm tall. Some are short. It's a fact, isn't it? Yes. It's a thought. And I'm clumsy. Anybody here clumsy? I bump into things, drop things, break things. Yeah. But that's not who you really are. It's an aspect of you, but it's not who you are. And if you say I'm clumsy, you'll become more clumsy because you identify with it. Yeah, every time you break something, well, I excuse myself. Yeah, I'm a clumsy person. What do you expect? I'm clever. Yeah. Who here consider themselves clever? Sometimes. Yeah. You see, you don't fully identify with being clever, but maybe you should. I mean, because God gave me a brain, so I must be clever. Yes, I must be. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm sad. Oh, I'm sad today. Can you change it? You know, I found that if I'm in a kind of a not such a happy mood, I can switch. One way I do that is to play music. Because it's all in the mind. It's like you're getting stuck somewhere. Yeah, I'm sad. Oh, this happened. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm sad about my children or their situation, or I'm sad about my wife, or I'm sad about my brother or sister car. My brother lives all alone. That's a bit sad, isn't it? Kind of yeah. But you don't need to identify. They're just thoughts that you should let them come and go. There's also, we listen to tunes in our head, like nobody likes me. It's like a repeat. You keep having these thoughts going through your head. Nobody likes me, and you make it true for you. No, it's like a song. Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. No, nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. No, it go over and over again, but it's not true. If any of you here think nobody likes you, it's not true. Maybe we get into a state sometimes. Yeah, I'm not such a very clever person. Nobody likes me talking. You don't like me talking to you. No. And then another song is the hurry up song. Come on, hurry up, get out of the house quickly. It's like a pattern you have, or there's never enough time. Oh, there's never enough time. Everything's terrible. I'm not good enough. Oh, that's a big one. I'm not good enough. Have you ever felt that? You ever think that? I'm not good enough. Yeah, yes, you still think that? I'm not good enough. Actually, as a teacher, again, it's to do with something inside of me where people will say, oh, you're a very good teacher. But then I doubt myself because all of these changes, all these kind of new ideas, and I feel I don't understand the terminology. So if you're a teacher, you can doubt yourself very easily because you're always being kind of judged by your performance. And did the lesson go well? Yeah, I'm not so good as a teacher, but it's not true. I am a good teacher. I think so. Yeah, maybe I have a bad lesson, but generally I'm a good teacher. When I was sick in a hospital several years ago, I was away for about a week, and when I came back, this deputy head studio director, he said, "So many people were asking about you. They really missed you." That was nice to know. Oh, people think I am good enough, that I'm valuable. But in my head, I start thinking, well, these other teachers are so much better than me, And of course, it shouldn't have happened. If something goes wrong, that shouldn't have happened, that's wrong. So it's all kind of negative stuff. So what is stillness? Let's get rid of all this egoic mind fears and worries. What is stillness? That is what we want, isn't it? So stillness is the place of contentment and the sense that all is well, which we experience whenever our mind is quiet. Stillness is the place of calm, peace, joy, and love at the core of our being, because that's who we are. That's what we have to tune in to our inner self, to the God within, because that's our true identity. All these thoughts are thoughts, but it's not who we are. We experience this when our mind and body are united through God's love, the first blessing, a true person. This is who we are. So how do we create stillness in the midst of chaos? So this could be me, you're in there's chaos going around in the classroom. There's paper aeroplanes, but there is Miss Breathe. Looks like she's meditating and creating a kind of a vacuum, a circle of peace within herself. So if you have God within, you feel God's love and peace. Even if there's chaos going on around you, it doesn't affect you. So that's why I'm saying stress is not the outer circumstances. Stress is what's going on within. So what can we do? So we have all these thoughts coming into our head, negative thoughts. First of all, we should be aware of our thoughts and also to not identify them as us. They're just thoughts coming or going. Secondly, we should allow those thoughts to be there. That's part of it. We're human. If we have negative thoughts about our life, it's like, well, there is a part of us, that we want to protect ourselves, but just allow those thoughts and to accept them. That's why in meditation, it's the idea is that, you calm down and there are all these thoughts and you can imagine them as like clouds just drifting by. You don't identify them. They're thoughts, you let them pass. But the big one to find stillness is give your full attention to what is happening here and now. Presence, to be in the present moment. Eckhart Tolle, he wrote The Power of Now. We need to be in the now, because the mind, the fearful mind, is all about the past, and the future, worrying about the future and regretting the past, like a commentary going on. But to get rid of that, we have to give our full attention to the here and the now. What is happening in this very moment? When I sang, we sang this song, Today While the Blossoms, it said, and there was one part about now. And actually, what I noticed is you can sing a song, but your mind's somewhere else. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, because you're worrying or thinking about something else. But what I found is that what I find beneficial on a Sunday when we have a song is I'm really looking at each word and connecting, identifying with those words. And I feel some emotion. That's why we sing songs, to lift us up. And if you're really focusing on the present moment, on those songs, on those words are very inspiring. Can I ask you to do a little exercise? Look at your hand. Look at the palm of your hand. Just notice, you have 5 fingers. Can you see the different sizes of the fingers? Can you see the lines on them or where they bend? Can you see the tips of those fingers? What color? What did you notice? Is your hand big? Is it sweaty? Is it clean? Is it, and you can move your fingers. Isn't it incredible how you can bend, these fingers and what they can do together with your thumb? Is anything you notice about your hand now that maybe you didn't notice before? And then look at the back of your hand. But look at the back of my hand. I can see some hairs. I can see some knuckles. I can see blood vessels. I can see some freckles, like these brown spots. And actually, the hand looks quite old. Reminds me of my father's hand. So now you can look back this way. So that was just an exercise. Do you feel any different? Well, I do, because I was focusing on one thing. I feel some kind of calmness. I'm not talking to you. I'm looking at my hand and thinking, wow, isn't that amazing? God gave me this hand, what it can do. So simple things, focusing. If you look at this room, if you notice the things in the room, the lampshades moving, the fan whirling, or what about the colors? And I like the color of the wood on the wall. And look at those chairs. They're very kind of almost like for a king and a queen. They're very presentable. Oh, look at all these candles. Look at the light coming from them. In fact, this display here is quite special. I mean, who are these people? I mean, very special. So you can, by noticing what's happening right here, right now, creates calm, because you're not worrying or thinking about something else. And actually, to be present is to be fully in the body and the senses, because you're using your 5 senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What can you taste? What can you touch? Did I miss one out? So smell. So to be present means to be in the body. Not to punish the body, but to be present in the body and the five senses. Because when you're focusing on your five senses, you can't focus on other things. I mean, if you're reading a book and you're really into that book, you can't feel stressed if you're really focused on the book, because you're in that world. On the other hand, if you're stressed, you can't read the book. I have both experiences. Sometimes I just can't get I'm trying to read and then I'm thinking, oh, I feel this pain, or I'm thinking about something else. But it's like you can't put the two together. So that's why reading is very good. Also, doing physical tasks like gardening or playing music. Marie, you're talking about you're creating music. Being creative, your mind and body are very focused in the present moment. So that's why to be active physically is very good, because if I go for a walk, I'm in the present moment. I'm noticing things in the present moment. Think, Margareta, you take your dog for a walk. You have to be very present with your dog. If you're not, if you're drifting off somewhere, maybe the dog runs away. The dog wants your attention, and you get a lot of joy from that. Yeah, because animals live in the present moment. They're not worrying about the past or the future. And something else is that we need to accept life as it is. We may want it different, but it's just the way things turn up. Just accept, well, that's life. If you're always thinking, oh, this is not what I want, oh, there's something wrong, I want something better and better. Just accept what you have, because that's living in the present moment. You're dealing with now. Always longing for something else creates certain kind of tension, but why not just appreciate what you have now? Because that's to do with being grateful. When you're grateful, you're in the present moment. Oh, I'm so happy that I can stand in front of you today. I'm so grateful that you're here. I mean, imagine if you weren't here. I would still do it, but I'm so grateful that you are here. And for those on Zoom, thank you for listening. Yes. So, and then I would say that also have compassion for yourself. Don't accuse yourself. You're trying your best. So compassion and love, love yourself. Have compassion on other people who maybe have struggles. In the cafe I like to go to where I live, there are some people, like there's this guy called Mika. And he comes there every day, has breakfast, and he sits there and he stares into space, lost in his thoughts, And if I talk to him, then he talks nonstop. so he's like, because there's a lot inside of him, going on. And there's another guy who also comes quite often, and I see him afterwards. He goes around the corner and he's pacing backwards and forwards, talking to himself, because he's in his own world. He's creating his reality. But is there anything wrong with them? No, there's nothing wrong with them. They're beautiful people, but they're troubled in their minds. So this sermon has all been about going from stress into stillness, to recognize where stress comes from our ego, from our self, this more primitive part of us, and that too much thinking and identifying with these negative thoughts, whereas stillness is living in the present moment, is finding the God within, and is finding who we truly are. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for listening.